Good evening and welcome to Coach World TV. My name is Terry Yoffe, and tonight as my guest, I have Jessie Kulsuptrakul. Hi, Jessie.
Hi, Terry.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So, don't change the station thinking that you're on the wrong station. Usually, I know when we do Coach World TV, you see an adult sitting in this chair. And we talk about coaching and everything that has something to do with coaching, consulting, communication, leadership. So I decided to mix things up a bit. And I've invited Jessie, who is a 17-year-old teenager who hails from California, to talk with us tonight. I thought it would be refreshing, informative, and I think it'll be very engaging. The topic tonight that we came up with is what issues teenagers deal with in today's world, which could be a lot different than teenagers dealt with years ago. Every generation, I think, has its own issues to deal with.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely.
So Jessie is, and we're talking about 16, 17, 18-year-olds to be exact. So Jessie is going into her senior year in high school, and then will be heading off to college. So, pick an issue, Jessie.
Well, there's so many decisions, you know.
That's true.
So I feel like indecision would be a good place to start.
Okay, that's great. Indecision. So tell us about indecision for young people your age. What does that mean?
Well, there are so many things that teenagers have to deal with, like just picking the right college, figuring out who they're going to be friends with, and it's just a lot of people, you know, trying to influence your decision kind of thing, and you're just scared to make the wrong choice. So
that's very interesting. Okay, indecision, making the wrong choices. It could be college, it could be a career path, it can be as maybe mundane as deciding what yogurt to buy.
there's so many choices.
That's true. That's true. So how do teenagers deal with indecision especially when it comes to making friends, thinking about a college? I mean, a career path is a little further down the line.
Well, it's difficult because sometimes you just want to take the easiest path, like whatever is just right in front of you. Like if you're choosing a college, you might want to be the one that's closest to you because it might be the easiest one to get into, and it won't be much of a change. You won't be challenging yourself that much, and yeah, it's difficult.
Okay, so let's start with something as we're going to get to college because I think that is a great example, really great. But you said something about indecision, about choosing friends, which I think has a lot of weight to it, especially for young people. So what about that? Do you find that a lot of teenagers have a lot of difficulty in choosing friends? Who do you trust? Who do you get close to?
Well, what I find with friends is that you're constantly changing by what experiences you had. Your beliefs are usually changing because you're trying to figure out who you are. And so other people are changing at the same time. So I find that your friends change too. So it's hard. You move around with friends. You try to keep friends that are like usually, you know, have the same interests as you. I find it hard to trust people, but sometimes people grow on you, and it's, I don't know, it's just...
Okay, so let's, and by the way, grown-ups have the same exact issue about friends. So it's not only relegated to teenagers, that even as adults, you have friends that you've had, and you find that you've gone off doing many different things, and you grow. and therefore the friends that you've made might not be who you want to be friendly with. So you would have to find a whole new group of friends. So just some comfort in knowing that it's not only with young people. What about thinking of a college? Because you are at that precipice of looking at colleges and, indecision. What if you make the wrong choice? What if you go to a college and, ooh, it's not the right one? Yeah, so
I feel like that's a very good transition to one of our other topics, people pleasers, because, when you're choosing a college, we teenagers, we don't have, the background or the knowledge or confidence to, make that decision right away. And you have all these adults, you have people who really mean good for you, but they're just telling you that they think that you want to do, or they think you should go here because they went there, or it's really high school, so obviously you have to go, or it's just a lot of pressure.
I understand that. So, yes, kids do have to make a decision about college, but there's a lot of what I'm calling influencers, the word we came up with.
Yeah.
And influencers could be family members, could be wiser people who, as you said, oh, I went to that college and it would be great for you. But that might not be the college you want to go to. So how does a young person start to, the word that I use and when I coach a lot is have some personal power, which means being effective in being able to say, instead of being a people pleaser, say, Mom, Pops, Grandma, Grandpa, friends, whomever. I hear what you have to say. However, that's not really where I want to go. That might be hard. But how does a teenager start to develop that muscle so that they pick a college and they hear everybody, but they pick the college that their heart tells them they want to go to?
You gotta build up your own confidence in yourself first.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you think, oh, all these people are so much smarter than me and they have so much more experience. They probably know better than I do. What do I know? I'm just a 17-year-old girl who's just, yeah.
So what do you do? And yes, they might not be smarter, but they certainly come with more experience. They've had a lot more years, and they may know a thing or two about, colleges. So how would it be to really just listen to what everybody says, pick your 7 or 8 colleges, and then in your own heart say, these are the 3 I really want to go to. What kind of confidence do you think is needed, or self-awareness to stand up to us older people?
Well, you have to figure out what you want and what really fits you. If you want, a big school, or small school. I can't really preach from experience. I'm trying to deal with this myself, actually.
Yes, we know that. So you can give us some of your own insights. You are looking for colleges, and you're kind of exploring a lot of different colleges, and I think no matter what anyone says, in the end, it will be up to you to make that choice. In the end. Does that sound fair?
Yes, definitely.
So what kind of confidence, or what are you willing to accept in yourself about making that choice? Because that could be a very weighty choice. Making a college decision. It could be weighty, right?
Yeah.
How do you not make it weighty? How do you not, have it be the be-all and the end-all, and it's okay, I'm picking a college that I choose?
Well, if you really think about it, no matter where you go, it's still going to be a college experience, and it's going to change you, and you're going to learn things that, and say, if you didn't go to college, you wouldn't learn. So if you're so indecisive that you end up like not even making a decision, you're really just harming yourself.
Well, not making a decision is indecision.
Yeah.
So let me throw something out. What if, because I've heard of this, you pick a college and you don't like it? What's the worst that could happen?
I think you can transfer.
You don't think that you can transfer?
Lovely.
You can. Actually, someone I know, her daughter went to a small college in Oregon, hated it, and left and came home. See, there are options. I think people might forget that when you think about a college. You pick a college. If it's not what you want after a year, there's a million others to choose from.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah. It does.
Also about a career path. When you have got a number of years, but let's say you go towards, I don't know, being a rocket scientist, okay? And you get to college and you realize, you know what? I want to be a farmer. Right?
Yeah.
You can always change career paths. I've changed career paths numerous times. So sometimes you don't always find your right career path.
Yeah. I don't know, just the fear of, failing. It's not even, you learn from your failures, but you're so afraid of failing and looking like a fool. It's just...
Yeah. Fear of, we actually talked about this. Fear of failure and fear of looking ridiculous. I mean, what could be more ridiculous than my saying this on TV? Fear of failure. Us coaches say there's no such word as failure, there's only feedback. Yeah. And I get that young people have peers and they're afraid of what my peers going to say, what are they going to do? And there's a lot of pressure. So how does someone your age get around the whole looking ridiculous, the fear of failure? I mean, Lord only knows I've been ridiculous a number of times in my life, that Jessie can attest to. So what do you think? What would be a good learning or a good opportunity for you in looking at this and figuring something out when you look at fear of failure or fear of looking ridiculous?
Well, you think to yourself, what's the worst that can happen?
Exactly, right.
Half the people you know right now, you probably won't know unless they're like family. You probably won't know in like 20 years. And if you pull yourself back from making like a decision or just putting yourself out there to be you, you're only like hurting yourself.
That's true. That's wonderful. So bright for a 17-year-old.
Trying so hard. So hard sometimes.
So I have to tell you that Jessie came on the show being extraordinarily nervous, but I think you're doing a really good job.
Thanks.
Really good.
I have a very I have a difficulty with being articulate, which I think kind of stretches over our generation, you know?
Yeah, that's one of the topics.
Yeah.
Being articulate. So why do you think that it's hard to be articulate?
Well, I know that most of us teenagers, we like to social media and text and use the WTF,
LMK.
Yes, JK, all those lovely acronyms. And you sometimes forget how to converse in face to face.
Yeah, and just to touch upon that, it's been known that the young millennials, which are kids getting out of college, going for jobs, have a very hard time to really be articulate, because they're so used to texting and short emails and social media that the art of personal interaction is lost in a lot of ways. And that, by the way, kind of also crosses into work.
Yeah.
That people will be next door and you'll never see them, or you work virtually where you never get to have contact with people.
Yeah.
It is an issue with articulation and communication. And kids find going into their first jobs that they do have issues with that, and it takes them a while to try and fit in to societal work environments. So is there any way that you could kind of beef up your articulation with people, so it's not just the texting? And so when you get with your friends, you text a lot, you see them face to face.
Yeah.
And so do you talk when you see them? Or do you sit there while you're with them texting?
Well, most time we talk face to face,
Okay.
but I know that even when you run out of topics to talk about, if you're not like particularly really close with them, you pretend like, oh, someone texted me, just to avoid eye contact. I feel like that's also a problem with with teenagers, is that we don't keep eye contact with people, and coming from someone who answers texts with just a K, not even an OK, but just a K. It's just
So how do you I mean, this is all great and wonderful wonderful issues here, and wonderful kind of acknowledgments of what's going on. How could you help yourself? I mean, you're going to be going to college, and I'm not sure if college is kind of an extension of high school where kids don't interact as much. I'm thinking it might not be. I'm not sure. So how could you start to prepare? You have 1 year to kind of beef up some of the things that we've talked about. What could you do to help yourself kind of prepare for your, I'm not rushing you to go to college, but prepare for that next plateau, which is college?
Well, I know working on eye contact is good. Practicing, public speaking, like this, very public. Just exploring your horizons and just talking to people face to face, and just stretching those, spontaneous muscles of, conversation.
That's great. So could I challenge you to start putting a goal-directed list together of all the things that you might want to work on for yourself over the next, through the summer and into the end of next year, so by the time you get ready to go to college, you've got some of this, maybe not down 100%, but somewhat, where, you are being more articulate, putting yourself in situations kind of like this, where you're really stretched and challenged, and figuring out how to have more interactions with people and eye contact with people. Eye contact's very important, and I agree with you. It's not only teenagers. You would be surprised how many adults, when you talk to them, looking here, looking there, looking down, and they don't make eye contact, is very uncomfortable for most people. So they look away. It whether it reveals a lot or not, it's very uncomfortable for people. And I think one of the topics that we were going to look at was showing up having too much emotion, or the converse of that, no emotion.
Yeah.
So how do teenagers work around the word emotions, which could take on many, many complexions.
Well, I know that showing emotion, like in a school environment, it's kind of, you peer pressure. You don't want to be like, oh my god, I love, or whatever this,
Right,
and
that's
you're like putting yourself out there to be hurt, and it's not fun to get hurt, and so some people just like block themselves off from showing anything like true about them.
Okay, so I understand that you don't go to school every day and go, hey, Joe, I love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Right? You wouldn't do that.
No.
That would be a little on the excessive side of emotions. But how could teenagers show up with some, and yes, kids tend to be very hurtful. And by the way, adults are guilty of the same thing. So this is not, just so I want to kind of intervene and say, even though we're talking about teenagers and the issues, I have to tell you that adults, as a coach and working with clients, they deal with every one of these issues. So ironically, even though this is about teenagers, this is not only for teenagers. Adults struggle with every one of these issues. Different way, they've got more experience. You're still young with less experience. So this is not just germane to the world of teenagers, ironically. So emotions, how can teenagers not allow, you have to know who to befriend, right? So that goes back to friendships and knowing who you can trust as friends. You're not going to go up to somebody you just met and tell them, some very secret piece of you. Because that would, you would be open for whatever comes down the pike. But if you have close friends, how do teenagers kind of take a temperature to know who can I trust? Who could I open up to? Who can be a good BFF, if you will? And show some vulnerability. Because as you and I talked about, there is a strength in it, even though you might not see it.
Yeah. I don't know, you might test the waters by maybe telling them a little secret. Don't go like, ooh, jumping off the diving board kind of thing.
Exactly.
But you might tell them, oh, I secretly like this band or whatever, and you might, if that gets around, you know that they're not trustful. And
very nice.
Trustworthy, rather. But
it's okay, either one. Yeah, so I love that, testing the waters. If you have a couple of friends, and I know that you do, and maybe, you give little bits about yourself, whatever it is, but maybe not the total picture. And you see how it goes, and you test the waters. And each time you kind of put another foot, a little toe in the water, so that you know who's a good friend and who's going to really be willing to keep your secrets.
Yeah. Well, just blanked.
That's okay. We actually only have a few more minutes, but we still have time to to not blank out.
Yes, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, so we've talked about a lot of topics. Which one or two do you feel drawn to? Is there any of all of that we talked to that you can say, this is one, this is two, that I can see their issues for me, and some might not be as big. So if you had to prioritize, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I'd say my biggest problem is being articulate.
It's an issue.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I don't know. I think if we took a poll, people would pretty much say you did pretty good for somebody that was nervous.
Thanks. I'm working really hard,
Oh,
trying
good.
not to let the California accent come through.
Oh, right, of course. California accent. The like.
So many likes.
Right.
I'd say no. The next level would probably be indecision.
Okay. So the articulate and the indecision. So what are one or two things that you could come up with to help you with this? Maybe some things we've talked about tonight that you could kind of look at and say, it's okay to have indecision, and this is how I'm going to deal with it.
Well, indecision, I think I can deal with it by, thinking, what's the worst that can happen,
Right.
kind of thing. And I believe there's a quote by Helen Keller about,
Yeah.
what is it?
Yes. I love that quote. Life is either a daring adventure or
Yes.
nothing.
Yeah, or nothing at all. Yes,
Right,
that's what
so
it
there
was.
you go. So life is either a daring adventure or nothing. So we're going to be ending in about a minute or so. So life is either a daring adventure or nothing. So what do you think of that quote for summing up tonight? This was not something Jessie wanted to do.
No.
So was it an adventure?
Yes,
And
definitely
how did you-
adventure. I feel like I've stretched myself, expanded my horizons, and I'm glad I did it.
Well, that's great. I want to take the time to say thank you. This, I know, was a big stretch for Jessie, and I hope everyone really enjoyed tonight's different type of Coach World TV. And, we still have another minute. Goodness. So I'm not off the hook yet. So what would you like to say as parting words?
Well, I'd like to say to all you teenagers out there, or adults who have children that are teenagers, tell them that they're not alone. It's okay to not know, and just own who you are, you know? And I'd like to thank you, Terry, for having me on the show. I know it's a little, I'm no coach or anything,
Well,
wise coach, adult, or anything, but I hope you had a nice time.
I had a great time, and I want to, again, thank everybody for tonight. It's been great. Thank you.